Hello vinyl lovers, I'm here again with some more pearls and treasures scoured from car boots and charity shops the length and breadth of West Yorkshire. Without further ado, let's get into the latest batch. There's quite a few to get through, so bear with me. I'll try and scoot along. Here's number one. Album by John Coltrane, Black Pearls, double live set in the late 50s, classic era really, and it's got some great liner notes which have absolutely nothing to do with the record in question, but are all about growing up and going to clubs in New York in the late 50s. Sounds just about the most glamorous place on earth. Next one. What an album by Todd Rundgren, 1973 double, follow-up to Was It a True Star. I think a pretty magnificent record this, despite Todd's dodgy hair extensions and choice of hair dye. It's a pretty brilliant album. I'd recommend that to anyone. This is an unusual record. The Machine Stops by Andrew John, which a name I haven't heard of, but the record is sort of folky influenced. It's all cover versions, but the choice of songs is really excellent. There's versions of a Nick Drake track, Time Has Told Me, which is pretty rare for an album of this vintage. It's from the early 70s. And a great cover of a Roy Harper song, Another Day, which is just a beautiful song, and he does it so well. I was really pleased to get this because I didn't know anything about it, looked it up online, find it's worth about 60 quid to the determined collector, so I was very pleased to snap that up for very little money. Here's another one. Joni Mitchell, Hejira, I think a classic jazz-influenced record, some beautiful arrangements, mostly electric guitar playing from Joni on this album, and it's very jazzy and cool. A lovely record. Here's a prog rock classic from the 60s, Family, Music in a Doll's House. This is the original Reprise label, and the album, of course, which caused the Beatles to change the name of their own record of that era from A Doll's House to the White Album. This is a very ambitious record, not easy to get into, I have to be honest, and not as approachable as some of their later stuff, but still a fascinating period document really, with a great cover. Talking of period documents, here's another one. Richard Harris, A Tramp Shining. This is a collection of songs by Jimmy Webb, who wrote and produced just about everything on here. It's reckoned to be a bit of a cult classic, this record, and it certainly does stand up because Harris has got a nice voice, a nice quavery light tenor, and some of the tracks are just brilliant. I mean, MacArthur Park, everyone will know, it's just a bonkers record, and a lot of the tracks are like that. They're big, overblown arrangements, and I like it very much. I can say that one is an absolute bargain at a quid. But again, it changes hands for quite a lot of money, that record. I think it's the only one he did. Here's the Patti Smith Group, Radio Ethiopia, follow-up to Horses, and I think a record that's pretty underrated. I was playing it the other day, and it's really good, strong, uncompromising stuff. Even the extended workout, which is basically just a jam on side 2, Radio Ethiopia and Abyssinia, still pretty compelling. And there are some great songs like Ain't It Strange, Casino River, Ask the Angels. It's probably one of their best albums, that and Horses and Easter. Here's a classic from the 60s, The World of Alan Price. The World of was a great series by Decca which went on and on and on and featured just about everybody, including people like David Bowie. And they were fairly cheap compilations, but This one retailed at 1911 originally, we'll see. But it's an interesting collection. There's some nice tracks. I've always liked Alan Price, and it's nice to get some of his early stuff. Here's an obscurity from 1970-71. Elliot Randall, Randall's Island, which is an album by Steely Dan side now. He played guitar on a couple of Dan's early records, including the solo on Reeling in the Years, which is some of the great solos. Jimmy Page's all-time favourite solo, apparently. He's a great guitarist, this fella. And yet to get into the record. I played it a couple of times. The songs aren't that strong, but his guitar playing is tremendous. So again, a nice period record. Here's something boldly described as the greatest jazz concert ever, which features Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, Bud Powell, Charles Mingus, Max Roach, all live in about 1960, doing extended versions of songs like Embraceable You and I've Got You Under My Skin, standards like that, but given the full jazz bebop workout. Interesting stuff. This is a record I really love. Right, so pleased to get this for £1. Unconditionally Guaranteed, Captain Beefheart. Great album this. Terrific tracks like Upon the My Oh My, and a brilliant song called I Got Love on My Mind, which is like a crazy Motown pastiche. Very commercial record. I mean, I can't understand why a lot of people find Beefheart completely unapproachable. Some of his albums are just really, really strong commercially, and this is a good example. It's not Trackmaster Replica, it's really very listenable. There's an album by Stevie Wonder, Where I'm Coming From, which was an album I hadn't heard of actually. It just predates that great 70s 3-4 album run he had with Talking Book and Music of My Mind. It's just the one before that, and it shows him getting more radicalised and independent and really rebelling against the Tamla Motown system. There's some quite political tracks on this which showed where his social conscience was at the time. Album by Stephen Stills, just a really lovely solo record by a long career, this guy, and a long track history of great solo records, of which this is another, Stephen Stills 2. Again, good stuff. It's a solo album which isn't the best, but I had to get it because it's such a curio. Bill Wyman, Monkey Grip, on Rolling Stones records. I don't think anybody apart from the Stones and Bill Wyman ever appeared on Rolling Stones records. Maybe Peter Tosh, but I'm not sure about that. But there's some nice light-hearted, easy on the ear type good time music on there. Total contrast. Tangerine Dream, Rubicon, which is a great album. I think it's very electronic as you'd expect with Tangerine Dream, but it's kind of predates a lot of house and dance music. There's kind of an electronic pulse to it all the way through, but this album dates from the mid-70s and it's way ahead of its time. Very good record. Another one by Todd Rundgren, Healing, which includes a free single, Tiny Demons. Nice album this. It's got some good strong tracks, but probably one of his best later albums, I would say. It's a sort of pleasant record. J.J. Cale, Shades, he left us recently, made some good solo albums, great guitar style, enjoyable stuff. John Lennon, Imagine, very pleased to get that record. His best solo album, I think, by a long way, despite Plastic Ono Band. I think this is a stronger record. What else have we got? Oh yes, here's a good one. I've written about this at length on various emails, but Frank Sinatra's Watertown, which is an undiscovered classic, I think, a very melancholy, downbeat album recorded by Frank in the late 60s. It barely scraped into the Billboard Hot 100, and it's been forgotten, really. You can tell from the kind of subdued cover, it just doesn't look like a Sinatra album, and it's loosely a concept record about a guy left behind in a small town by his wife to bring up their two sons, which is not the cheeriest subject, and consequently the record buyers didn't go for it, but it's a very strong album. Talking of Blue Merchants, Leonard Cohen, songs of Leonard Cohen, classic singer-songwriter stuff. But if you need cheering up, how about a Steve Martin comedy record? It's called The Wild and Crazy Guy. It's a record of his early stand-up career, actually. And some of it is dated, but some of it is brilliantly original. Well worth a listen. And then there's Bob Marley and the Wailers, Natty Dread, which is a classic album from the 70s by Bob Marley. And then we have a soundtrack album by Ennio Morricone, Once Upon a Time in America, which I think enhances that movie enormously. It's an overlong film, a bit bloated, but the soundtrack and the main theme is spellbinding and used really well throughout. Really ties the movie together. And finally, a bit of an obscurity. You might remember Brian Prothero. He had a single called Pinball. This is the album. Interesting, introspective, singer-songwriter stuff, and he's still going. Don't know if he's still playing pinball and such, but he's made several records. This was his first, I think, and I was pleased to get it for a quid because it's an obscurity, and I do like obscure albums. Well, that's the latest haul. I hope you found that of interest. I'll be posting some more updates as and when I find those nuggets. So keep listening. Bye for now.